Konnichiwa. Welcome to Chocolate with Ed Garcia. I'm Ed Garcia, and this is chocolate, lovely chocolate. The best part of Chocolate with Ed Garcia is chocolate. Eating some chocolate with Ed Garcia. Now, today I have Chinsuko chocolate. This is from Okinawa. Very good, very good. My friend Tomomi gave this to me. So, open your chocolate, bring it near your mouth, ready, 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 go. This is very good. Today's speech is speech number 18, a plurality of dogs. I'm going to say it again, a plurality of dogs. See the strike through? Why did I strike through a plurality of? We will learn that. And we're also going to discuss strong lists. These issues were discussed in a CAFC case. CAFC is the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit. It's one level down from the Supreme Court in the United States. Supreme Court, CAFC, Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit. So it's a very high and important court. The case is listed here, and here we go. The contents are as follows. I'm not going to read all the contents. I'm experimenting with using small print in my PowerPoints for things that you may want to read later in the PowerPoint, but that I'm going to skip as I give the presentation. So, a plurality of is single, okay? A dog means one dog. A plurality of is single. So a plurality of dogs is not plural. A plurality of dogs is a plurality, one plurality. This is very confusing, even for Americans, because it is a translation error. We're going to continue. So the judge is going to interpret a claim that has the words a plurality of, and many bad things are going to happen. You will see. And related to this case is how to make a strong list that clearly separates the elements on the list. You will see. Here we go. A little bit of history. Let's talk about a plurality of dogs. First, let's consider the types of nouns. This judge discusses three types of nouns: single, plural, and mixed use. So mixed use may be singular or may be plural. For example, data or data. In modern language, modern English is used as singular or as plural. I think Latin data is plural and datum is singular, or the reverse. Anyway, no one uses Latin anymore. Additionally, we have a related issue that is very complicated. Countable or uncountable. So, for example, rice, water, advice, information. In English, we don't talk about rices, we talk about rice, and we cannot count the rice. It has too many small things, we cannot count it. It's uncountable. So generally, we do not use plural for rices. We say rice, it can be one grain of rice, or it can be a big bowl of rice, but it's rice. Also water, advice, information. These are uncountable. Having said that, as a patent attorney, I will sometimes take uncountable things and I will make them countable. I will make them plural. I will say 2 rices. For example, one of them may be rice in one location, another one may be rice in a different location, and I will call them 2 rices. Or one may be cooked, one may be not cooked. So as a patent attorney, I will sometimes force the language to serve my purpose. In particular, I will count things that are uncountable. It serves a purpose. Continuing, let's talk about translation. A plurality of dogs, I believe, is a bad translation from Japanese to English. It is a mistake. It's a mistake. It's bad. Don't do it. The correct translation is dogs. Okay? The plurality is shown here. So when an American says dog, is reading dog, we do not know if it's going to be one dog or plural, multiple dogs. We don't know until we reach the ending. And even worse, sometimes we really don't know at all. We have mixed use and we have uncountable. So this plural and singular in English is very complicated. I apologize. But do not use a plurality of. This is a translation error. It causes many problems. Continuing. So the best translation is dogs, or consider this, dogs including a first dog and a second dog. Okay. So if you want to emphasize, to make clear that it's plural, that it's dogs, don't say a plurality of dogs. No. Say dogs, including a first dog and a second dog. Okay? Now, there's a number of reasons why this structure, this phrasing is very useful. One, there is no confusion about singular or plural, a first dog and a second dog. There are 2 dogs, at least. And you have given the dogs different names, first dog and second dog. And that's very valuable because when you talk about dogs, you're using plural dogs for a reason, because the first dog is going to do something and the second dog is going to do something different. Okay? Usually. Sometimes in claim 1, other times in a dependent claim. But when you have dogs, go ahead, clarify, give names to the first dog and the second dog. And then later you can use them instead of saying, we're in a first dog of the dogs. No. Do it immediately when you say dogs, including a first dog and a second dog. Immediately give names to the components of dogs. Continuing. So, a plurality of is single or singular, right? Because it says a plurality. There's only one plurality. What is a plurality? It's very confusing. A plurality of dogs is not just dog 1 and dog 2, it is these parentheses. It is the group of dog 1 and dog 2, okay? So dog 1 and dog 2 are grouped together into a plurality. Similarly, here are some other examples. a set of cards, a group of children, a team of soccer players, a flock of birds, a pack of dogs, a school of fish. Now these words here may have slight additional meaning, such as set of cards implies certain things, that it is a complete set for playing games. Similarly, a team of soccer players means that they will have one goalie and some other people in different positions so they can play as a team. So these have slight additional meaning, more than just the a plurality. But they're very similar because here it's clear, a team, one team. Similarly here, a plurality is one plurality, okay? Many Americans don't understand this. In any case, it's a translation error. Don't use it. It will cause many problems, such as in this case. Here is Claim 8 as issued. Claim 8 is a disaster. You can't even read this. This is unreadable, even for a native speaker. But let me point out a few problems. Comprising, comprises. So you're using the preferred transitional phrase, the transitional phrase that generally ends a preamble. Comprising, using it twice. So where's the preamble? It's bad practice to use this word twice. It creates confusion. Only use it once to end the preamble, and then use including in the other places. Now, a plurality of, the plurality of, the plurality of. So we're using this term, a plurality of, and similar, 3 times, okay? It causes many problems, as you will see. There's one good thing about it, okay? A plurality of is 3 words. The plurality of, the plurality of. So total is 9 words. And if you are charging 50 cents or goju yen per word to translate, then translating these extra words gives you enough money to buy lunch. So the only good thing about a plurality of is you make more money if you are charging to translate by the word, and then you can buy lunch. But if you are a patent attorney, you want less words in the claim. Less words in the claim means the claim is stronger, and usually the claim covers more area. It's a better claim, less words. Less words is better. Okay, continuing. Okay, here's Ed Garcia's examination interpretation of this claim. This claim is a mess. It is bad. It is messed up. If I, as an examiner, were going to interpret this claim, I would reject it under indefiniteness. I would reject it under non-statutory. And I would have to delete words and add words and change many things in order to try to understand it and then make my rejection. So this is just a mess. Continuing. Here is what the judge did. Now the judge, first thing, really the judge is interpreting this comprising as ending the preamble and starting the list of elements of the machine. The machine here is a communication client, but we could just say a machine or a device comprising these features. we'll discuss this a bit more later. Now, so preamble really begins here, and here are the elements. Now, a plurality of memory, the judge interprets this as, of course, memories, although he doesn't say it. This is purple means something I did. Green means something the judge did. This is what the judge did. He said a plurality of memory or memories and a plurality of processors. Okay, that does not add any information, really, right? Because it was already plural. So this is one of the reasons I disagree with what the judge did. But let's continue. A plurality of programs, a plurality of communication circuitry. I think circuitry is uncountable. Please don't use circuitry. Use circuit or circuits, okay? Circuit, singular, or circuits. No electrical engineer says circuitry. Continuing. A plurality of authentication data. Okay, data is mixed use. It could be singular or plural. I like adding an S to it if I use it in a plural sense. So I would say a plurality of authentication data, even though it's not common for programmers to say data. I prefer it as a patent attorney. Continuing, and this is the important one, a plurality of non-local calls database. Now notice, database is singular, but the judge is making it plural, databases. Possibly the judge interprets database as a mixed use, that it could be singular or plural. I don't. So I think the judge made this plural when he brought the a plurality and applied it to everything on this list. We'll see more later why the judge did this. And some other changes here. Continuing. So, here's what the judge said about the preamble. The parties, however, have treated the language at issue, database, as part of the preamble. Okay, let me tell you what the judge means when he says this. He says, he's really saying, the defendants have bad attorneys. This is clearly, now this is my language, this is clearly a machine comprising style preamble, and the database is a required element of the machine. We can call it a preamble because the patent owner and the defendant are both calling this language preamble, but the judge says we can call it preamble, but these are required features for the machine. So the judge is treating them as required features. Continuing. Now we're going to talk about the judge on grammar. Rules for interpreting English. He's going to give us a rule which is not very strong. We'll see why. So Judge Torrento quotes from Superguide case, and the Superguide case quotes from a article that was written by Scalia. And Scalia, of course, is now on the Supreme Court of the United States. He's a Supreme Court justice. So the quotation is, when there is a straightforward parallel construction that involves all nouns or verbs in a series, prepositive or postpositive modifier normally applies to the entire series. Now, this is a rule, but look at the conditions that are required for the rule to apply. First, straightforward. What does straightforward mean? It means clear. If there is a clear parallel construction. Straightforward, clear, no problems. We're going to discuss this. There's always problems. And normally applies. Well, if it normally applies, then sometimes it does not apply. So this is not a strong rule. It has conditions. But let's repeat it again. When there is a straightforward parallel construction that involves all nouns or verbs in a series, then a prepositive or postpositive modifier normally applies to the entire series. Let's look at some examples. A furry dog and cat means a furry dog and a furry cat. The prepositive modifier applies to every element in the list. In this case, because it's a straightforward parallel construction and the prepositive modifier, furry, normally applies. So we try the normal interpretation and it works. Everything is good. But consider another case. A hot coffee and ice cream. Does this mean a hot coffee and a hot ice cream? Probably not. Probably not. So the normal rule does not apply here. However, it's ambiguous. It's unknown, really, right? Perhaps the ice cream was accidentally placed in the microwave or accidentally left in the sun. Nobody knows. So, I say, to interpret these lists, you have to look at context, you have to guess, and the lists may be ambiguous, and the lists may be indefinite, okay? So later I will show you how to make strong lists so you don't have this problem. Right? This is a rule that normally applies. Now, similarly, in this case, a plurality is interpreted by the judge as a prepositive modifier, similar to furry. Now, the judge's logic is this. The claim terms at least one of the plurality of programs and at least one of the plurality of the processors imply that the prepositive modifier, a plurality of, applies to the entire series, okay? And he's right. Or it could be indefinite. I think interpreting this claim as indefinite is better. But during litigation, the claim has a presumption of validity, and the judge will try to keep the claim alive if he can. In this case, I think the judge went too far. He should have killed the claim. But continuing, the judge interpreted this as a plurality of processors in the list, because later they said the plurality of processors, okay? And similarly, he interpreted this as a plurality of programs, because later they said the plurality of programs. And now, most important, now that he's made the decision that for consistency he's going to apply the prepositive modifier, at least one of, to every item on the list, he does it to databases. He interprets database as plural, databases, and specifically as a plurality of databases. He is interpreting database as mixed use, singular or plural, and I don't like that. And there are some other issues. But the judge interprets database not as mixed use and not as singular, but due to a plurality, he interprets a plurality of non-local cause databases. And this affects the outcome of the case. The words a plurality of have created many problems and destroyed this lawsuit. So this interpretation that claim 8 required a plurality of non-local cause databases meant that the defendant did not infringe. Okay? So this interpretation meant that the patent owner got no money from the defendant. Again, if I was a judge, I would have found this claim indefinite. The judge really did many things to try to keep this claim alive. Continuing. So, what is the best practice for this type of claim? The best practice is to minimize the preamble. 3 words. A machine comprising, a device comprising, a circuit comprising. Okay, 3 words, 3 words. Okay, let's consider the best practice for plural elements. A machine comprising dogs, including a first dog and a second dog. Okay, so when you have something plural like dogs in claim 1, there's a very high chance that later you will use one of the dogs to do something and another one of the dogs to do something else. So when you say dogs, define at least 2 of the elements inside of the plural thing. If you have dogs, including a first dog and a second dog. Why? Because this makes it much easier to use these dogs clearly later in a dependent claim. Similarly, cats, including a white cat and a black cat. Now, some U.S. attorneys like to say a plurality of to emphasize that there is more than one dog. This is a different way, this is a much better way to emphasize that there is more than one dog, that there are dogs. Dogs, including a first dog and a second dog. This is very, very, very clear, and it has the advantage of helping you with dependent claims. In particular, associations or relationships between elements of the first plural thing, of the dogs, versus elements of the second plural thing, the cats. Here, let me give you 3 examples of a directional relationship between the first dog and the white cat. I'm going to give you, as an example, 3 relationships. Yes, no, maybe. The first dog bites the white cat is yes, yes, the first dog bites the white cat. Or maybe the first dog may bite the white cat. So it's able to bite the white cat, but it may or may not bite the white cat. We don't know. The third possibility, the third associative relationship, directional associative relationship, is no, the first dog cannot bite the white cat. So notice how easy it was to give 3 distinct relationships between a specific element of the first set and a specific element of the second set. This is made easy by when you have a plurality, when you have dogs, define it in claim 1 as including a first dog and a second dog. Consider also, now we can have the second dog bites the white cat. Very easy. We don't have to say a dog of the set of, we don't have to say a dog of the plurality of dogs bites a cat of the plurality of cats, and another dog of the plurality of dogs bites another cat of the plurality of cats. No, 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 no. The first dog bites the white cat. The second dog bites the black cat. So easy, so easy. If we define at least 2 dogs, first dog, second dog, of the dogs, and if we name at least 2 cats of the cats, a white cat and a black cat. Later, in dependent claims, we can define the relationships very easily. This is the way you do it. Continuing. Now, when you make lists of elements, when you have multiple elements, it's very useful to clearly separate them so that you do not have the problems of the prepositive modifier that destroyed this application. For example, use a colon in the beginning, okay? Comprising colon. Use semicolons to separate the elements. Use new lines when you have a new element. Use numbering and use unique modifiers such as first and second, or contradictory modifiers such as black and white, okay? A white cat is different than a black cat. So you never say a white black cat, right? These are contradictory. So now let's go back to the original claim, claim 8 of the original application. Let's go look at that. Now, I'm just going to read this. I'm going to read this. Comprising a plurality of memory processors, programs, communication circuitry, authentication data stored on, and a non-local cause database, at least one of the plurality of the programs stored in the memory comprises instructions executable by at least one of the plurality of processors for what? This is a nightmare. This is a nightmare, okay? First thing, how many elements are in the wireless communication client? 3, 5, 7? I don't know. It's very difficult. We have to fight. We have to really fight to try to understand how many there are. And there are 6. There are 6, okay? In law school, one professor told us when you have a list of features, of elements in a law case, number them. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Are there 2? Are there 5? It's very important, and sometimes it's not clear. You have a long, confusing sentence. Sometimes it's not clear. Make it clear. Now, when you're writing a claim, use everything that I just said to make it very strong where the breaks are, to strongly distinguish between the features. Let's go over that list again. Okay? 5 ways to make a strong list. A strong list comprises a colon in the beginning, semicolons separating the elements. This also permits you to use commas inside of the element more easily. Semicolon separating the elements, new lines for each new element, numbering, and unique modifiers when possible. This is how you make a strong list. If the person writing or translating this patent would have used these methods, we would not have had the problem regarding the prepositive modifier being applied to all of the elements in the series. It would have been more clear that the plurality, the first time it said a plurality of, only applied to the memory, okay? Because I think that was what the intent was. The resources. We have Chocolate with Ed Garcia, and here's a link in Wikipedia to something that will interest you, as we will see. The end of Chocolate with Ed Garcia, speech 18, a plurality of dogs. No. Dogs. Just dogs. Never, 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 never say a plurality of dogs. No. Delete it every time you see it. Don't use it, and when you see it, delete it. Get rid of it. No. Okay? And strong lists. This was the best speech ever. Yes, it was. It was the best speech ever. The very best. The best speech ever. Why? Because we had chocolate. Yes, we did. And then we talked about dogs A plurality of dogs. A plurality of dogs. Don't say a plurality. Delete it. Delete it. And of course, we're going to talk about Mount Fuji. Here is Mount Fuji near Ejiri on the Tokaido. We have two boats, and I've never seen a boat like this. This is a very different design than I have ever seen. So let's zoom in. Look, these two guys are pulling and these guys, it looks like they're pushing. This is very unusual to see people pushing an oar. And look at this. Look at this oar. It's very strange to me. It doesn't look correct. It looks like a mistake, but it is not a mistake. I gave this speech previously, and one of my Japanese friends sent me some information about this oar. This oar looks like this. This is the oar of the boat. Look at the shape. It's very unusual. It goes this direction and then it goes down into the water. It creates a force in this direction. Very unusual. Continuing. So let's look very close. Extreme zoom. Here it is. We saw a picture of that, didn't we, in a diagram of it. This is very unusual. Look at the way the angle changes. So I have never seen anything like this. Very interesting, right? These pictures, these drawings, these wood prints contain a lot of historical information. And here it is. We were looking at this part right here. And of course, Mount Fuji. Very beautiful. Arigatou gozaimasu. Sayonara. 日本が大好きです。